How's everyone doing? How's it going?
Great.
Ooh, we made
What's up,
it.
everyone?
We're here.
We're finally here. Listen, I'm so excited to be part of these conversations, and I kind of want to start off with just a huge thank you. I know there's a lot of folks here that are looking to get some understanding behind the career path of SDR to AE, right? What that looks like, any kind of experiences and roadblocks or just great success stories that you guys have to share with us. So I guess let's kind of kick it off with some, I guess, high level roundtable, right?
Yeah.
So
Do it.
let's do it. I'm Ariane. I'm the manager of global sales development over at LucidWorks, and I'm going to kick it off to Melissa.
All righty. Well, hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Just a couple more hours till we're having a Friday, which is the best day to book a meeting. My name is Melissa Gaglione. I'm an enterprise account executive at LivePerson selling conversational AI, so messaging, automation, chatbots, etc. I was an SDR for a year before I got promoted into this role. So lots of exciting feedback that I have to share with you guys. But Anthony and Katie, why don't you guys also introduce yourselves as well?
What's up, everyone? Oh, Katie?
Go for
ahead.
it. Go.
All right, I'll go. What's up, everyone? I'm Anthony Natoli. As of Tuesday, I'm a strategic account executive over at Lattice, performance management software. Before that, I spent some time at Outreach.io. And I was, before that, over at a company called Demandbase, where I was an SDR, made my way into account executive role. I'm also a big fan of Thursday because it's Friday Eve. And I am pumped to be here with these lovely ladies and to answer any and all questions and try to give back as much information possible to the sales community. So pumped to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Bubb, mid-market account executive at LeadIQ. LeadIQ is the kind of prospecting all-in-one. We're trying to make prospecting smarter, easier for sales teams. And we love prospecting over here at LeadIQ. So I started as an SDR, outbound emailing, calling, did that for about 9 months until I was promoted to my first account executive role. But super excited to chat with you all and talk kind of that transition from SDR to AE and share some valuable insights with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So I'm gonna dive into it. I'm just gonna go in. Melissa, tell us what it's taken and what it's been like to be on this journey from SDR to AE. Like, what did it take and how'd you get here?
So nobody's gonna tell you this except for us here today.
All ears.
all ears. But the secret is that you really have to go beyond hitting quota. Hitting quota is the baseline. Like, that's expected. And if you're just hitting quota, month after month, quarter after quarter, and a year and a half, 2 years go by and you're like, okay, I'm ready for my promotion. I'm ready to be an AE. It kind of doesn't really work that way. You have to do so much behind the scenes and really get yourself to be, seen as a leader on the SDR team who can now be an account executive or an AM or an SC or CSM, whatever it is that you want to do. So for me, when I was an SDR, I first needed to master the role. Right? You can't just walk in after your 90 days and say, I'm ready for my promotion. You need to first master the role and hit quota consecutively. Okay.
Okay, but Melissa, like, what does it mean to like master the role? Like, what does that mean?
I think to me, like, being able to master something means that you can teach others, right? That means that what you've done is repeatable. It can be taught. Other people can learn from you. So that's mastering a role in my mind. So once you master it, you have to teach the other people on your team. And here at LivePerson, we believe sharing is caring. You are a leader if you are sharing. If you are holding things to yourself, you're not helping anybody. So the second step would be to share what you've learned and what you've mastered. And then the third would be most definitely getting people to champion you and, say, Katie should be the next AE. She's your next girl who's going to, really bring the heat. And you really need those people behind you to back you up. And we'll dive into that a little bit later. But that's where I'd like to, I think those are the top three main areas to start.
Nice. Anthony, what are you thinking here? Like, what was your experience like? We all know outreach. We know who you've worked for. Yeah. Like, let's hear it. What does that look like? Also, congratulations.
Thank you. All right. So, for me, like the macro, getting promoted from SDR, from SDR to AE really just did change my life forever. Not because of the opportunity, just because of the things that I learned. I didn't start my career as an SDR. I actually worked in finance. So I came from a non-traditional background into SaaS. And, I was a firm believer at the time, living in San Francisco. All my friends were at these cool SDR jobs, and I was crunching numbers and sitting at a desk all day. And I was like, got to do something different here. And so I wanted to make sure that I learned like from the ground level up. And so I started as an SDR. I was able to take a lot of the intangibles that I think make SDRs really great and then use that to my advantage to achieve my end goal. And so my end goal from day one was I was laser focused on getting promoted from SDR to AE. Like that was my mission. And so I had to figure out, day in and day out, what were the things that I could be doing to complete that mission. And rather than focusing on like the end result of getting promoted, I focused every day on what can I do in my control to get there. So I think there's a few different things that I focused on. So from day one, I made my intentions super clear. I started to meet with different executives at the company, some of the different managers, some of the top performing AEs that were SDR grads that got promoted before me. I started to build my brand internally through speaking up in team meetings, sharing thoughtful value adds via Slack or emails or wins, or even like calls that went really bad, like cold calls, and just getting my name out there as someone who was, trying to be outspoken in a way on the team to get my name out there. The other thing that I think is really important is having a awesome relationship with the AE that you support and like looking to them for guidance. And the last thing I'll mention is become a subject matter expert in something, whether that's you're really good at emailing or really good at cold calling, and always be sharing like your journey and documenting it. And sorry, I know that was the last thing, but I have one more thing because I like to talk.
Tea, Anthony. We're ready.
Always be sharing, Anthony. Always be sharing.
Yeah. So typically, a VP of sales development or SDR manager, they like ask for volunteers. And I was always the first person that raise my hand to speak at team meetings, even like a company all hands. I was able to speak at our SKO, and it really just put my name on the map. And I tied that all back to like my initial intention. And when a spot became open, I was the first person they thought about. And to Melissa's point, hitting quota is like the baseline. There's a lot of people on my team that hit quota, but I was one of the people that stood out amongst the crowd by doing all those other things that my intangibles allowed me to kind of just figure out as I went. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Anthony. Something that you said like that I think that is often forgotten, right, is identifying your goal, okay, and then tying back everything you do to that goal, like investing in yourself, in your day-to-day, making that impact. Why? Because you have this goal at the forefront of your mind. It's so easy to lose sight of it and then kind of like fall down into like the stagnant trenches. So thanks for sharing that. I am sure that there are a lot of people here that just kind of needed to hear that. And Katie, I can't wait to hear you. Huge advocate of Lead IQ, by the way, like huge champion.
Love that. Yeah. I think my transition from SDR to AE, I did not come from a sales background. I came from Accenture Consulting, project management role, and then ESL teaching. And I know, Melissa, you were a teacher too. So I think I definitely had the soft skills of sales, and sales always interested me. And when I got into it, I loved it. And so I always had the goal of becoming an AE, but I really wanted to focus on mastering the role that I was currently in, which was an SDR. But to get to the AE role eventually with my promotion, I really focused on AEs that were doing very well at LeadIQ currently. And I'd watch their calls. I'd want to sit in on the demos that I would set up for them. And I was actively engaged, watching them establish next steps, asking impactful questions about their company. It was just the way I learned was so hands-on and being involved in that. And I'm super grateful that LeadIQ allowed their SDRs to have that role for eventual moving up into promotion. So that was one thing. And then I think there's also a piece that's important of the difference between a mentor and a coach. Mm-hmm. And I was able to seek that out at LeadIQ, where I had my direct manager who was a coach for me and helped me with achieving quota, obviously, but it's so much more than just quota, like we've said. So I looked for mentors who, in this case, were AEs that I would connect with on a weekly basis and just talk through things, both professionally, personally. And they just really taught me how to hone in on my skills and prepare for the eventual promotion and leap to AE.
That's awesome. That's solid feedback. So let me ask you, what are some things that you learned in your SDR role? I'm sure we all know Kyle Pullman, right? And he said it, like the SDR role teaches you how to take a seat at the table, right? So like what were those things, those characteristics and good habits that you developed in order to, one, be good at being an account executive, but that you needed and didn't know until you took a seat into the account executive role?
I think for me, it was my background in project management kept me organized. And so you have to be organized as an account executive. You have to have impactful notes, because ultimately sometimes you're team selling. You're bringing other people in from your org to create a partnership. You also need to set impactful agendas and follow up. And so that was a skill set that I think helped me in the beginning.
And did you ever feel like, you know, the maybe the tasks as the SDR, right? Like the daily grind in and out. Did you ever think that once you moved out of that role, you would never look back and never have to do those things again? Like, you've been promoted, never will I have to make a cold call again. Like, did you come across that mind, or were you kind of just always confident that this was something that you carry into your next role and next profession and next promotion?
Yeah, I think it came, I think I thought I would carry it, but certainly I think I thought being an AE would be one thing and an SDR another. It was a shock a little bit for me when I transitioned to an account executive, for sure.
I totally agree with that too. I think that you have this, and I did the same thing. I interviewed other account executives. I interviewed so many different people from so many different departments before deciding what I was going to work towards, before I decided that I was going to work towards being an AE. It took me a couple of months to determine what I was going to focus on, but it doesn't stop. You always have to be prospecting. You know, if anything, now it's like, okay, well, now this is money in my pocket. You know, it's not going to my AE anymore. It's going to me. You know, if I want to make money for myself, I have to do it for myself. I have to be responsible for my own pipeline, and my SDRs are there for me to empower, for me to help them. Even though there are support, I am supporting them. And then I also think that it goes so much further than just booking the first meeting, because as an account executive, now you need to get all these different people who are all these different stakeholders, because the buying process has now opened up to 6-7 different people that need to sign off on it. So you need those SDR skills to navigate through that company. So it really does go beyond just the first meeting. And so when you master the skills as an SDR, you need to master them in order to be successful as an AE. So go in super, super masterful of the SDR, strategies there.
I love that. Super masterful. I'm taking that, right? Like take that, become your own subject matter expert and hone into it above and beyond the SDR role. Anthony, I can't wait to hear some feedback from you. What do you got, buddy?
Yeah. So going back to my original journey, I don't think I would have been as successful as an AE, be able to make President's Club a few times without being an SDR. I think for any ramping AE, it's critical to understand the problems that your solution even solves for. So, as an SDR, you learn very quickly in conversations with prospects on the phone, through email, why do people take meetings? Why do people agree to take 30 minutes out of their day to talk to your account executive? So I think, one of the advantages of being an SDR is you get that insight into the problems that your solution is solving. And you don't have to go through that period of time when, if you were an AE going to another company as another AE, there's that learning curve of understanding the personas and the problems that you solve. And so, the advantage of getting promoted internally is that all that stuff already. You're the subject matter expert. And now you're able to focus a lot of your time on honing your skills on things like multi-threading and champion building. And then one of the most important things for any successful AE is ramping. And during that ramping period, the first thing that you should be doing is building pipeline. And who better to build pipeline than an SDR that was already an SDR at that org? So I think there's tons of advantages of getting promoted internally as an SDR. And when I got promoted at Demandbase as an SDR, the top performing AEs at our company were also former SDRs that happened to have no prior SaaS experience before they were SDRs at Demandbase. And the top performing AEs at Outreach in our emerging segment, which is the one right after you get promoted, was one of our top performing segments, and they're all former SDRs. So I think it goes back to a lot of what I said around the product knowledge, the solution, or the problems that you're solving with your product, the personas, what they care about. So I think it's a huge advantage.
Thank you, Anthony. I've got a couple of questions here in the chat. One of them is, how often and what percentage of your time is spent on outbounding, right? Compared to your SDR life. Now that you're an account executive, what does that look like? Do you do it all the time? Do you do it once a month?
Yeah, I'm my first week at Lattice, but I'm eager because at Outreach, we were responsible for generating a chunk of our pipeline. And even if we weren't, I'd be doing it regardless, because how I view prospecting, those are my future customers. They're future customers that can get problem solved with our solution. So I'd be a fool not to take matters into my own hands and start generating some pipeline. I think part of prospecting is also working with your SDR really closely. So whenever I meet with my SDR, we're prospecting together. I'm giving them guidance to say, hey, go after these accounts. And this is the messaging you should use based on all the trigger events that I know are taking place and why they should be reaching out. And it just creates a very smooth and easy relationship. And as an AE, I would say I'm still doing call blocks. I'm still doing email task sessions. I'm still sequencing people every single day. It's probably an hour to 2 hours a day. And what I found was I looked at my screen time on my phone, and I was spending 6 hours, 7 hours a week on Instagram, and I could reduce that and prospect instead. So anyone that says they don't have time to prospect, I challenge you on that.
Music to my ears. Music.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to take your phone and put it
right
away. don't look at it.
I mean, Katie, like I would assume that you have like an amazing prospecting tool, right? So like, I am sure you get in there. You get in there and do your, like, what does that look like for you?
It's funny because I ask my prospects, do your AEs prospect? And a lot of them say, not as much as I wish they could, right? And I think it is true that Lead IQ makes it so easy that there's no excuse to do it. Little plug there, but I do still prospect, and I definitely have like a rhythm to it throughout my week. I like to prospect on Tuesdays or times that I'm not prepping for meetings with prospects and teams, but I try to really block out time and do it. And when I do, it brings me back to my SDR days, right? Nothing changes from SDR to AE. If anything, you're just continuing to master the skill and continuing to drive value and understand the company even more so that you can really get to their target outcomes and help them solve a challenge. So none of that ends with prospecting, and it still stays.
One of the best pieces of advice that I had from an account executive that I'm still close to, I would consider him a mentor, was Ariane. Like, if you don't roll up your sleeves and you don't get in there, what do you think this is going to look like for you if you do get promoted, right? Like, never, ever think that the bullshit ever stops. Doesn't matter where you go, what you do, what role you're in, what industry you're in, you're going to be doing things that you might not like doing, but you have to get good at them so you like them, become passionate, and master them. Like, the bullshit never stops. And every time I come across an obstacle, I always think about that, because it's true, right? Like, let's get in there and make the best of it. Melissa, I feel like you've got some really good tips and tricks on like video and like how do you partner with your SDR to scale that?
I do. Video is my thing.
I know. I know.
I'll answer that quick and then we'll jump into the Q&A because we don't have too much time. But the way that I work with my SDRs for it is videos are really for my perfect people, the people who are in my top 10, top 20 accounts, the people that I'm super obsessed with. I did a really great video with one of my amazing SDRs, Louisa, if she's on here today. And we did a side-by-side video of both of us talking. I said a little bit and she said a little bit, and we had graphics and everything. And both of us really understood this account really well. We prospect together by using LinkedIn lists. We have shared documents. We go back and forth. Me and my SDRs, we have 2 sessions a week. The beginning of the week is planning and mid-session is us educating. So like, let me help you, let me teach you. But we have a lot of questions in the chat if we want to, or the Q&A section, if we want to take a look here. For me, I think the one from Nick that says, how important is networking internally when looking to get promoted? It is critical. Like, if you don't, like, I don't know if you will get promoted. You have to have people whispering in the guy or person, who has that magic wand to make SDRs AEs. So you have to get the people around that person to be saying, Melissa's going to be great. So you have to build those internal brands all the time. And I used video for that because I would make videos and then I would send them to the VPs and the strategic directors. And I would say, give me some feedback. And that's how I would get to know people, was sending my prospecting videos also to my internal, champions.
And also, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think it's important to advocate for yourself with senior leadership too, but helping others and sharing what works for you, wins that you had, like Melissa mentioned, that's a sign of ultimately leadership. And in some ways, if you're team selling with your SDR, you want to enable them to follow the path that you did too to an AE. So that ability to help others and be that mentor too, and share your success, share in what's working for you is also important, I think, internally.
Are we running low on time? Do I have time to squeeze the Q&A? I'm so sorry, I missed a bunch of questions in here. It is blowing up.
I think one more question. I think we have time for one more.
All right, cool.
Yeah, you guys have time for one more question in the Q&A.
Oh, choose wisely.
All right. Is there a difference in mindset from an SDR to AE? As in different daily tasks, different ways to approach people, different ways to present and speak?
Yes. I think it's like mix of both, because as an AE, I'm thinking very strategically. I'm not thinking volume. As an SDR, you have to have that balance of volume and strategy. So for me, it's not so much like this. It's more like this, a little bit higher on the strategy, and I'm passing on more volume tasks to my SDRs. But you still have a balance. But for me, AE, it's a little bit like this instead of like this. What about you guys?
Ultimately, like, I just think of it this way. As an SDR, admittedly, in hindsight, I think my questioning was a little bit an act of checking the boxes. My questioning was a little bit linear. As an AE, you're looking at a chance to partner with a company you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. And so I tried to go higher and understand that company's industry, their organization, instead of just asking about, in LeadIQ's case, bounce rates, emails, right? Go higher and be more strategic.
Mm-hmm.
I echo all of that.
Awesome.
Echo. All right, cool. Well, guys, thank you so much. This was incredible. First of all, please connect on LinkedIn, all of us. We didn't get to a lot of the questions, and I'm so sorry. I hope that we continue having these conversations. On a side note, off the conference, but it's been incredible meeting every single one of you.
And I have an idea. Maybe we could just go on LinkedIn Live one day and keep talking about this.
Yes. Yes.
We should. There's so much that we also just didn't have time to share. So yeah, guys, add us on LinkedIn, and I'm sure, all of us are pretty active on it. So reach out, ask questions. We're all here to help each other.
Before we drop, should we drop our LinkedIns in here rapidly, or do we have them connected to our profiles?
I don't know. Do we have time?
I put mine in the comments.
Oh, you're good. You're fast.
On it.
You're fast. We're on it.
Whenever I see an opportunity to plug myself, I do it. No hesitation.
There you go. That makes sense.
Self-love.
Amen.
But yeah, hit us up. We're in the trenches. We go through this stuff every day. We're I wouldn't call myself a guru. I just do this stuff every day and want to give back. And I know Melissa, Katie, everyone else, we all feel the same way. So
it makes us smarter, when you're able to
winning together,
share and learn from other people.
Winning together. I like that. Winning without compromising. Yes. Cool.
All right. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Katie, Melissa, Anthony. Let's connect and do this again live on LinkedIn. Why not?